Good afternoon. Today we're going to read Matthew 20. Matthew 20. The first section is titled Laborers in the Vineyard. For the kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for a denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard, and getting out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And to them he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you." So they went out. Going out again about the 6th hour and the 9th hour, he did the same. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing, and he said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You go into the vineyard too." And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last up to the first." And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. Now when those hired first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received a denarius. And on receiving it, they grumbled at the master of the house, saying, "Those last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last worker as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me, or do you begrudge my generosity? So the last will be first, and the first last." And I know there are people nowadays who would feel the same way. It's hard to think about working out in the heat all day, and you're going to get paid one wage, and somebody who just comes and works a little while gets paid the same wage, but it's not up to you. You have to do what you agreed to do. And the next section is titled Jesus Foretells His Death a Third Time. And as Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside, and on the way he said to them, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to death, and deliver him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified, and he will be raised on the third day." I've got a note over here that says Jesus knew what was coming, a horrible death that paid the price for all of our sins, even when we don't accept it. And that's something hard to imagine. First of all, that he did it for all of us, but he would have done it just for one of us. And second of all, he did it for all of us, even when some of us don't want to accept it. He did it for us anyway. He didn't say, "If you'll accept, I'll do this." He just said, "I'm going to do this." The next section is titled A Mother's Request. Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came up to him with her sons, and kneeling before him, she asked him for something. And he said to her, "What do you want?" She said to him, Say that these 2 sons of mine are to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your kingdom." Jesus answered, "You do not know what you're asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I am to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." He said to them, "You will drink my cup, but to sit at my right hand and at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father." And when the 10 heard it, they were indignant at the 2 brothers. But Jesus called them to him and said, You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be your slave. Even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And then the last section is titled Jesus Heals 2 Blind Men. And as they went out of Jericho, a great crowd followed him, and behold, there were 2 blind men sitting by the roadside. And when they heard that Jesus was passing by, they cried out, "Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David." The crowd rebuked them, telling them to be silent, but they cried out all the more, "Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David." And stopping, Jesus called to them and said, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, let our eyes be opened." And Jesus, in pity, touched their eyes, and immediately they recovered their sight and followed him. Now, we have to remember that before Jesus asked any one of them, whether it was James and John's mother or these blind men, Jesus knew what they wanted. And you might say, well, why didn't he just give it to them? He wanted them to recognize what they needed and that he could provide that. And it's the same way with prayer. God knows what we need before we even pray. If it's something small, if it's something big, God knows what we need, and he knows when we need it. But he wants us to recognize that we need it and we can't provide it for ourselves. He wants us to want to ask him, just like if you're in any kind of a relationship, if it's a marriage, if it's friendship, if you need something from somebody, sometimes it's nice just to be able to surprise somebody with something that they need. But for the most part, if you have a relationship with them and you need something, if it's a favor or whatever, you need to ask them and let them know that you understand they can do that for you. And we shouldn't be afraid to ask people to help us. We shouldn't be so proud that we can't ask people to help us. And in the same vein, if we're able to help somebody, we should do that. Again, if we're able, and if we're not, the very least thing we can do for them is pray for them. And then hopefully the person who can help them will come along and offer. But you know, God gives us free will to do those kind of things. And that's such a hard concept to grasp, that when people do good or bad, God's given us free will. He wants us to do right, but he wants us to do it because we want to, not because he's making us do it. I don't know about you, but I can remember when my kids were younger, if they were mean to one another. I can remember when Joey and Jennifer were very young, I would say elementary school, and it had just been a real trying day, and they were just not talking ugly, but they were just talking rough to one another, you know. Well, I think this, and the other one, I think this, blah, 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 back and forth. And so I made them get out in the front yard, and they weren't really being mean, bad, ugly, hitting each other or anything like that. They just needed to remember who they were. So I put them out in the front yard, one on either side of the yard, and I made them stand and yell, "I love you," to each other. And both of them were saying, "What if my friends come by?" Well, too bad. You should have thought about that before you started being ugly to one another. Well, it didn't take but once, each one of them yelling once, and they started laughing, and then it was all over with. And that was what I wanted. I wanted them to remember that they do care about each other. And that's what we need to remember, that we care about one another and that we do things for one another. We can have differences of opinions and different ideas, but we want our children to get along, and that's the way the Lord is. He wants us to get along and do the right thing because it is the right thing, not because he's making us do the right thing. And that's my point. God gives us free will to make our own decisions. And then, good afternoon, Dodie, how are you? And then, but we have to understand that when we make a decision, we have to be accountable for the outcome of those decisions. So, I don't know if that made sense to anybody else. I hope it did. But anyway, thank y'all for joining me this afternoon. We're almost through with Matthew. I don't remember how many more chapters we've got, but we're almost through with Matthew. But we're going to keep going all the way through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then we'll see what we're going to do after that. But thank y'all for joining me. And I will talk to y'all tomorrow.